I want to thank the Jaguars for the opportunity to compete and earn a chance to be a part of this team. I know it will be a challenge, but it is a challenge I embrace. I am dedicated to taking the direction of our coaching staff and learning from my teammates. I appreciate everyone's support as I embark on this new journey. Max, do you have a problem with the Jags signing Tim Tebow?
I do not have a problem with the Jags signing Tim Tebow, nor do I think he needs to apologize for the opportunity. Tim Tebow is one of the greatest college players of all time. His college coach is now the head coach for Jacksonville, which is his hometown, by the way. And he is an enormous celebrity in the media. And everyone always said, well, he's a great athlete. He could be a good football player, just not quarterback. Okay, so they're giving him a shot at another position. By the way, he still has to make the team. I will say this, however, Stephen A. A lot of people have used Tebow's situation to discuss Colin Kaepernick, to link the two somehow. I don't think they're linked. But I will say this. I think it's good to do that. I think it is good to use anyone who gets an opportunity, especially if you feel like they don't deserve it, or they haven't earned it, or others are more worthy, to use that as a chance to bring up the fact that Kaepernick hasn't even been given a tryout. No one has even looked at him. And I would say, Stephen A., that it would be nice for Tim Tebow, who has been given this opportunity, you don't have to apologize for it, but it would be nice for him to mention Kaepernick's name, to say, hey, I've been given this opportunity. A lot of people are upset about it. I'm very grateful for it. You know, Colin Kaepernick should also get a look. I know the two aren't linked, but I like linking them, and I think Tebow should too.
I have a problem with it. And in the interest of full disclosure, I texted Tim Tebow a couple of weeks ago, and I told him that if anybody deserves, something along this line, it's him. Just from a human perspective. I think that he's one of the great, great people that I've had the pleasure of meeting in this business. He's a really, really good dude. His heart's in the right place. He's very charitable and philanthropic with his intentions and his actions. He's a pillar of that community, especially. Was a star at Florida State, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm happy for him, meaning Tim Tebow specifically. But when you look at, just the totality of the situation. Once again, if I'm going to bring up white privilege when I brought up Steve Nash getting the job in Brooklyn, is this not an example of white privilege? What brother is getting this opportunity? Now, that makes people uncomfortable because we're talking about race. When I say something like that, let me be the first to say, I don't give a damn how you feel. I mean what I say. It is white privilege. Because that's not something that's happening for any brothers out there. You've never played the position. You've been retired from the game for years. When you did play, you were a quarterback on the NFL level, which you were not that good at. You had an opportunity when you were an active participant as an NFL player to participate and play tight end, play special teams and stuff like that, but you wanted to be a quarterback. And now here you are in this position. Why do I bring that up? That's not to point the finger at Tim Tebow. It's to remind everybody is that this opportunity doesn't happen if Urban Meyer is not the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars were 1-15 last year. They absolutely stunk. As far as I'm concerned, you could have got an equipment manager to play for that squad as bad as they looked, okay? They didn't think about calling Tim Tebow then. They didn't think about calling Tim Tebow the year before that when they were having their problems. But all of a sudden, Urban Meyer comes there. And as a result, Tim Tebow gets an opportunity, to get a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He got that job because of the relationships. And as I've stated on many, many occasions on this show, when George Floyd ultimately was murdered by Derek Chauvin, the cop, and you saw people rioting and protesting in the streets, it wasn't just about him. It was about the symbolism of what transpired, because black people have repeatedly felt like we have the proverbial knee on our neck. We constantly have to scratch and claw our way. And when we see someone of a different ilk, of a different ethnicity, getting opportunities we know we would never get, that's where the words white privilege come from. And you yourself, Max, have been on the record. And I saw you saying this to somebody a couple of weeks ago when I wasn't on the show. You were talking about how white privilege needs to be addressed, but you're about lifting everybody up. You're not about giving up your white privilege, et cetera, et cetera. And my response to that months ago when I had that conversation with you is that if you have a 50-yard head start and you get to race and we're both going at the same speed, I could never catch you. In other words, there's no way to eradicate white privilege without white individuals giving up some of their privilege. And the reality is that Urban Meyer is in a position where he can exercise it. I'm not saying he did it for Tim Tebow because he was white or anything like that. It has nothing to do with their race in regards to that. I'm simply saying when you see an opportunity like that happen, it is clear that it happens for white folks, and it doesn't happen for everybody else.
What I would
say,
that's
problematic.
Stephen A., I think that's an interesting point. The reason I say you need to lift up instead of ask people to kind of step down is this is human nature. The people living their one and only life, you know, sure. If they're given an opportunity, are usually, by and large, most people are not passing that up because of some larger social issue that may be abstract to them, right? So because that is the reality, then I think the best course of action is to lift up. When I say to you something like when you were protesting the process, because you said a black GM would never be given the latitude to tank for a number of seasons.
Correct.
My point is not to say, therefore, no one should be able to if it's a good strategy. We can debate that another time. Right. My point is just insist. Then it's incumbent upon those who are privileged to insist that everyone is given that latitude.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.